Let's begin with the chemistry between you two. Was it instant?
Well, fortunately, we had time. Like, I mean, always like when you walk in to like meet someone for the first time, there's always like that. Hey, okay, we're gonna do this movie together. Are you cool? Are we cool? Like, what's the deal? But then Ben, the director, built in 3 weeks of rehearsal time for us before the film. So it was like sitting around in a room, tape marks on the floor, breaking down like the shape of the rooms we'd be in, us putting up the scenes, figuring stuff out, and then and basically going from there. So it's like we had all that time to get to know each other, to feel each other out, and to sort of like form what would look like their relationship in the film, so we can kind of go from there and just hit the ground running.
So Armie, what was it? When did you know Lily was cool? You're gonna like this,
Oh,
Lily.
oh, let's see. When did I know Lily was cool? She opened a beer with her teeth, and I was like, yeah, she's cool.
Lily, what about for you? Was there a moment?
Um, when Armie opened a beer with his teeth.
Armie, what about perfecting the 1930s kiss? It's a move. There's a hand up on the cheek. It's a lean in. What's the key to getting that right?
The hand on the cheek thing, that was just like every still I saw of like Laurence Olivier in like the original Hitchcock. He like always had his hands on her face, and I was like, yeah, I'll take that. That looks pretty good. I'll steal that. Yeah, it's just all about what looks good for the camera, I guess, at the end of the day.
It was so visually beautiful, and the fashion. Okay, Lily, let's talk about your Annie Hall look. I was digging the pants. Why was that so important for this character?
Well, you know what? At the beginning, we sort of felt like there was a tomboyness to it. I mean, I had these summery dresses, but I also had a lot of trousers, and they were Chanel, by the way, which was heaven. But yeah, I loved those trousers that I wore in Manderley, and we kind of wanted it to feel as modern as possible, and also that as she finds her strength, as she sort of finds her voice throughout the thing, that's reflected in her wardrobe too. At the end, she has this power suit, which is also in the similar tones to the suit that Armie wears at the start. So it's kind of like their roles reverse in who's leading the relationship and who's got the most control at that point.
Armie, were you digging the dapper suits when you put that on? Did you feel the character?
Yeah, I mean, when I was wearing these like gray costumes, we were in the south of France driving around in like a champagne colored 1920s Bentley, like in Monte Carlo. It was tough to beat.
Can both of you relate to the scrutiny of Lily's character, being under the microscope and watching every move? How can y'all both relate to that?
It's interesting because like Lily's characters was more of like a scrutinizer than she was like scrutinizing. Like she shows up at the house and she's like looking through everything, and like it's like that thing, like if you look for something, you're gonna find something that you're not gonna like, always. That's why you don't look through people's phones. That's why you don't do that, because you're just gonna set yourself up to, like, even if it's innocuous and totally benign, like a handkerchief that has an R on it, like that is enough to like scar her and like damage her.
Lipstick
like,
on it though, I mean. Oof.
Miss Danvers scared me to death. Lily, how can you relate to the scrutiny that your character was under?
Well, I tell you what, it was a very, very intense experience playing that character. But she's not under scrutiny, I don't think. She's sort of scrutinizing everyone else because she's obsessed with finding out about Rebecca and obsessed with this man, and all she wants is information. So I guess the maids in the house is really scrutinizing her.
Yeah, watching her move. And the beginning.
And Mrs. Danvers is definitely scrutinizing her and waiting for her to trip up and waiting to prove that she is not as good as the first Mrs. De Winter. It was a tough headspace to be in, to be honest, because she's being really emotionally abused and kind of gaslit, and she's really alone and really out of place and really, really kind of struggling. So the first bit, south of France, was heaven, and then from then on it just became more and more difficult.
I told Kristen Scott, I was like, I love you doing your own stunts, that jump at the end. She confirmed that was her.
She's badass.
Armie, on the basis of sex, everybody's talking about the great movie you did with Ruth Bader Ginsburg. Lily, I don't know if you heard this, but apparently she would light up anytime Armie would come in the room. What are your great memories?
She was like, we were really fortunate. We did have access to her, like, as we were kind of like making the film, and beforehand we went to go see her in DC and meet her and like all that stuff. And it was great. I mean, she was all of 5'2", but just like this incredibly powerful woman, and just incredibly smart, and just, I mean, still just, yeah, she was an incredibly impressive woman.
What's your last memory with her?
We did a screening in DC. I think the last time I saw her was we did a screening in DC at the Capitol building for the film. Yeah, so I think that's what it was. Yeah.
Did you see Kate McKinnon play her on SNL?
Yeah, so good.
It was
Yeah,
really good.